The woman's feet just touched the sand and were stuck. In a panic, she couldn't get her hand out. The beach was filled with the woman's harsh screams. A man tried to help her. He accidentally fell to the ground. Slowly, he seeped into the beach. The crowd could only watch as he was eaten by the sand. Someone raised the alarm. But in yesterday's carnival night, in order to have fun, they did not bring their cell phones. After calming down, the crowd began to analyze. The sand will attack all living things on the beach. As long as you don't touch the sand, your life is not in danger. The woman offered to start the car and leave the beach for help. The car had been left on all night with the headlights on. The battery has long been dead and it won't fire. The crowd argued. Woke up the fat man who was stuffed in a barrel. He was cursing and wanting to beat up the people who messed with him yesterday. He kept shaking his body to get out. The others were terrified. They shouted not to come out. 2 people had just been eaten by the sand, even though his lower body was in pain. Seeing that the crowd was unanimous, he did not dare to move again, but the narrow barrel squeezed him nearly collapse will. He turned his head and saw a strange eggshell in front of him. This is exactly what they found yesterday, but it hadn't cracked at that time, so the people guessed there should be some kind of monster out of it. It hadn't grown after the night. All of them were dry-mouthed, but they could only wait quietly for help. But this man didn't want to sit around and wait for death. He wanted to take a chance. There was some water and food on a table not far away. If he could get food and water, maybe the rest of the wait would be much easier. He alternated between 2 surfboards. He walked slowly in the direction of the table. Each step was taken with great care. But just when he was 1 step away from success, the board under his feet suddenly slid. Without a support point, the situation began to become critical. Look at the man's abdomen. Some strange tentacles are coming out and attacking him. His girlfriend behind him is terrified. The man tried his best to climb onto the table, but by now his belly was already bloody. The pain was excruciating. He had to lie down for a short rest. Not long after that, he began to open the cloth bag on the table. Then he threw a bottle of water to the fat man who was sunbathing in the distance. But the next moment, he suddenly vomited. Small and large blisters appeared on his stomach. The level of severe pain began to escalate slowly. It seemed that something wanted to burrow out of his stomach and the weird monster under the beach was still evolving. It even started to attack the tires of the car. It won't take long. The people in the car will no longer be safe. At that moment, a police car came to the beach. Seeing that help was coming, the crowd shouted in excitement. They were afraid that the police would pass them by. The policeman stopped the car and started to reprimand the people. He said the beach was closed. Why were they still here? The girls told him there were monsters in the sand that had trapped them here. The fat man in the barrel also shouted, "Don't get out of the car." The policeman looked at the silly look of several people. He stepped right out of the car. He had to see what they were up to. The monster in the sand couldn't break through the policeman's leather shoes, so the policeman was safe for the time being. He first looked at the man with the belly wound, but he was almost disgusted by the pus in his abdomen. Then he tried to pull the fat man out of the barrel, but failed to do so. The crowd shouted for him to call for help. They said the sand had eaten 2 people here, but the police didn't believe him. There was no man-eating monster here, but he was soon convinced by reality. The policeman picked up the car keys he had dropped. Suddenly, he couldn't move his hands. It turned out that there was a monster in the sand that had a firm grip on him. Soon half of his arm was pulled in. The others were terrified. They warned him to use pepper spray, and sure enough, the monster was scared right back off, and the cop lost half his arm. He instantly fell apart. He ended up as food for the monster. Although the crowd lost a chance to rescue him, but David saw a new hope. If he wrapped his feet tightly enough, maybe he could stop the monster's attack. So he started collecting all the towels he could. He lost his footing and fell over the railing. The monster in the sand wrapped him up instantly. He was quickly eaten clean. Seeing his companions die one by one, the girl dried her tears and woke up instantly. She asked Jenny to pick up the broken railing. She took down the other one. Then she jumped from the aid station to the car. Then they started to step on the railing on the floor, towards the table. But when it was Anna's turn, she slipped and fell on the beach. She was quickly swallowed up by the sand. Jenny decided to use David's tactic. She wrapped her feet in a towel. If she could just make it to the police car, she would be safe. And sure enough, she succeeded, but the fat man's side was worse off. The prolonged squeezing caused blood to seep from his skin. The blood made the tentacles underneath very excited. Finally, they drilled through the barrel. dragging the fat man into the sand. At the end of the night, only the girl and Jenny were left in peace. A random police car found a self-inflating valve. With the cooperation of the two, they managed to transfer the shorts man to the police car. However, the girl at the end of the line was attacked by a monster. The monster had grown into a huge thing. The girl managed to climb onto the roof of the police car. Here she found a barrel of gasoline. She poured all the gasoline on the beach. Then she dropped the lighted match. The giant tentacle went up in flames. After a few minutes of struggle, everything was calm again. After dawn, a diving enthusiast found them. The girl tentatively stretched out her foot. Sure enough, the sand monster had disappeared. This is the end of the movie. If you like this movie, like, comment, follow.